Dugdha Gopalanandana Parthavatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. All the Upanishads are likened to a cow. The milker is Sri Krishna. The calf is Arjuna. People of purified intellect are the drinkers of this milk, and the milk itself is the immortal words of the Lord. We are picking up the Gita after a long break. So we are on the second chapter, verse number 60. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha Indriyani pramatini haranti prasabam manaha. The turbulent sense organs violently snatch away the mind of an intelligent person, even of an intelligent person, when the person is striving diligently. This is a continuation of the theme about knowledge. When and how does it get established? And the person of knowledge can kind of withdraw his sense organs like a tortoise withdraws its limbs, and you can hit it and kill it. It's not going to retract its limbs. It's going to keep it inside. In case you don't do that, then the Lord, as it were, is warning you of the dangers. So, it has been found that after controlling some of the external sense organs, that is, you are kind of looking pretty calm and kind of collected and so poised. But it's the mind, the old memories that are kind of bothering you. And when you bring those memories up, or rather the memories come by themselves, you kind of somewhere, you put a cue and they all string out. And they, as I say, violently snatch away your intelligence, the mind. Now, we won't go into the technical twaddle of the grammar. Yatato, it is used in the Parasmaipada. Normally it's used in the Atmanipada. That is because it should have been Yatamanasya. However, when a person is diligently striving, and we have seen it, that how when we are trying to be good, every evil thought or evil kind of deed that we have done comes and hits us. It is during those times when we are feeling the strongest, we open ourselves to the greatest weakness. And we blame the world. Well, I was doing my best. I couldn't. This person and that thing, those circumstances, they drag me down. It's not that. So, these sense organs that kind of violently snatch away your mind, And in the practice of knowledge, the very first step is to control the sensory and the motor organs. I mean, there's no kind of compromise on that. When we strive for knowledge, knowledge of what? The supreme knowledge. Where is the supreme knowledge? Within us. Within us? Yeah, it's within us. We'll come down to slowly how things kind of work out. But as we are striving, these turbulent sense organs, they violently, first they are turbulent. They are not your friends. So if you have to get established knowledge, you'll have to put a hold on them. But then, our culture and our society and everything tells us that sensory knowledge is the highest. Yes, that's on one level. It's not the highest. And you will find, as we proceed, that there are higher and higher levels of knowledge, which, as an aside, I will be dealing with on Sunday in the talk. 7 stages of knowledge. We just cannot ascend those 7 stages if our senses are functioning like normal people. So what happens? Yeah, consciousness kinds of pulls itself up and reaches up higher dimensions within. So these senses, sensory organs, the mind, they are kind of linked. And the objects also outside. You've got to disassociate yourself from this. So what is this violently snatching away your mind? That is, first is, it brings in a kind of a waves in the mind which are contrary to what you have been practicing. Like you have been thinking, I am by nature divine. And then there are contrary thoughts, contrary waves in the mind. I say, oh no, that cannot be. Yes. How stupid are you? How can you think? You still feel hungry and thirsty, and what are you calling yourself divine? All these. It's called viparita bhavana. Opposite thoughts, contrary thoughts. So, though it is kind of momentarily, the mind has become calm, the senses drag this mind away and make it once again. It's like a calm lake, surface of a lake. And then suddenly something comes in and throws a pebble in it. And there are ripples and ripples and ripples. And there's not one pebble. There are a couple of more pebbles that are thrown in. And so you have constantly pebbles being thrown in from outside, from the objects. And they enter into the lake of the mind and they whip up a kind of a storm. Because one ripple bumps into the other and the whole surface becomes choppy. That's what happens to the mind. So even of an intelligent person, yes, even of an intelligent person. Because a person is intelligent doesn't mean that he has or she has that kind of grit, that kind of fortitude in pulling the mind down, pulling the mind away. But it has to be done. It has to be yoked under the will. And every time the mind wants to bubble out, one has to pull itself away. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of when the elephant is walking down the street, when it sees those banana trees, it automatically kind of, puts its trunk outside to get. So the Mahood, the driver, he will take that goad, it's an iron goad, hit it on the head, and it will retract the trunk. And after some, again it will go, again it has. 1,000 times It will try to seek those bananas. 1,000 times you got to hit that gourd on the head of the elephant, and we try. So gradually, the senses and the mind come under the control of your will. What is the will? It is intelligence, your intelligence, buddhi, coupled with power. So, mere intelligence is not enough. We've seen intelligent people doing all the stupid things in life. Yeah. So you say, the spirit was willing, but the flesh is weak. Yeah, that's the whole story of humanity. My intentions were good, but I couldn't save myself. We couldn't avoid these kind of things. It came to me like a storm. And that's what actually happens. Especially when you're trying to focus, there comes innumerable waves, old memories come and try to overwhelm you. And that is where you need to stand your ground. Over and over and over and over again. Then when the mind is kind of controlled, dragged back in, it starts reflecting that knowledge, that consciousness. Otherwise, that knowledge, that consciousness was dissipated through the senses. And it goes down to the object, comes back, tainted. But when the mind and the senses are controlled, the mind kind of does not have any kind of loophole to issue out. And it becomes pure. And that is where you feel a kind of a great sense of conquest, of power. Yes, you must not think that it's kind of a dry struggle. Every time you put a kind of a noose around something that you would like to have, and then you say, no, I don't want this thing. You develop a power, a gradual power. It's a power of sanyama. It's a power of conscious control. So this is what it is. So even of a person. Now, why are these senses turbulent? They are useful. Yeah, we grow up with the senses. Imagine if you had 5 senses of knowledge, sensory knowledge, or 5 motor organs. We would have been like a kind of dead, saying yes. But then, like I said, if we want to go to a higher level, and in fact that's the message of every religion. First, you've got to be good and do good. And slowly, because a mind given to evil, it's extremely difficult to control. But a mind given to good, it's easily brought under control. So that's why the prasabham mana, that is violently snatches away your discernment between what is right and what is wrong. And so this is a kind of a cautionary note given to all aspirants, that this is where you need to focus if you want supreme knowledge. So the next verse is a kind of a continuation of this theme. 61. Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratisthita. So controlling all of them, that is all of the sense organs, and becoming concentrated, one should remain seated by accepting me as supreme. For the wisdom of one whose organs are under control becomes steadfast. Yes. So we have 2 things here. One is, like Sri Ramakrishna said, it's extremely difficult to control your senses. If you do not have love for God, If you have love for God, the senses are weaned away from the objects. Why? Because now God has become the object of your love and your adoration and your focus. God has become the object of your life. So as the mind, when we start growing up, we discard many things. When we were young, we used to play with dolls and footballs and this and that. And you ask somebody, do you miss your dolls and your footballs? And say, no, I've kind of grown up. Yeah, I can go for a kind of a game, a football game, but it's all over for me. I don't miss them. But at one point of time, they were everything to me. Oh, I'll die without that. Now, I've just kind of matured. I've outgrown these small ideals. That is the way to control your mind and your senses and your everything. Keep growing. As Sri Ramakrishna will say, go forward. Don't kind of dwell on things that you had some 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Why you want to bother about this? 50 years ago, somebody said something to me and I still remember, and I'm still taking pills to cure that old memory. What is this? You should have dropped it off there. Okay, if you haven't dropped it there, you drop it now. That is the whole purpose. How do you drop it? By making God, that supreme self, the center of your life. And as we keep on concentrating on this ideal, the senses are weaned away. And that's why he said, mat paraha, that is, by accepting God as a supreme goal. And it is also mentioned, those who are devoted to God will always be saved. It's kind of, they say, there is no evil anywhere for that person. Once the person is devoted to God, God, as it were, protects that person. Yeah. Because now it's God's responsibility. Yeah, this person is devoted to me and I need to protect this person. And that's what happened. So, this word, looking upon me as a supreme, by accepting me as a supreme, mat para, is actually this. We have various ideals in life. I want to be this, I want to be that, and finally we don't have that kind of stamina to even attain some of these ideals. So we discard many and then focus on one, and even that we don't do it perfectly. There are some who kind of attain some degree of kind of success in what they do, but they are always dissatisfied, because that's the nature of the world and the nature of the mind. You will always remain dissatisfied. There will never be knowledge that will be complete. There will never be knowledge, sensory knowledge, that is fulfilling. Even after attaining all these ideals, suppose you wanted to be a great violinist, you play a violin and you play the best violin. Even that person keeps on still practicing, I want to be more perfect and more and more and more. Oh, you've got everything. No. I want to be there. It's like we are walking towards the horizon, and the horizon keeps on falling back and back. And the more we go towards that. So that's the reason why accepting God as a supreme, that is the ideal. And once you've accepted, this is what I need. Why? Well, that has been there subconsciously impelling you towards itself. But we get distracted. I want this, I want that, I want to see this, I want to eat that, I go astray. But somewhere deep down, that supreme self is kind of, hey, I'm here around behind. Come away from all these things. So human nature has that kind of duality. It is dragged out, yet at the same time it is dragged inside by another counterforce. And those who seek refuge in that accept that the Supreme Soul, God, as the ideal to be attained. That Supreme Soul, that Supreme Knowledge protects that person. So the advice given is controlling all of them and becoming concentrated. Tani sarvani sanyamya, controlling. And you've got to be vigilant about it. You know, there's saying, eternal vigilance is the price you pay for freedom. And that's what. After a while it becomes spontaneous, it becomes natural. You don't have to keep a kind of a very close eye. You subconsciously kind of, you control yourself. And there was once, excuse me, Sri Ramakrishna could not touch any metallic things. It represented kind of in the old days money. And Swami Vivekananda, he was the skeptical young man. He placed a coin under the mattress of Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna was out and he comes in and saunters in, and then he tries to sit down on his bed, and as if he's kind of has got a pierced with something, he suddenly leaps up. What's happened? He looks under the mattress and he sees a coin there. And then he looks at Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda, he kind of smiles, kind of embarrassed, and then he walks away. But Sri Ramakrishna is pleased. This guy has tested me here. And he wanted his disciples to test him. So it had become subconscious. Even when he was sleeping, if somebody would touch a coin on his kind of body, any part of the body, it used to kind of, his fingers or his hands used to kind of become twisted and stiff. His breathing used to stop. This is the extreme of control has become automatic. There's kind of, you don't do it consciously. But we start on the conscious level. So how do we do it? Slowly, by concentrating. What do you concentrate upon? On the Supreme Self within. And accepting that as your supreme ideal. Then what happens? Once your sensory and your motor organs are kind of controlled, your wisdom becomes established within you. That's what. For the wisdom of one whose organs are under control becomes steadfast. And this whole section of the second chapter is how does a person of steady wisdom behave when he or she is in the state of absorption, and after absorption, when the senses kind of start functioning, the mind functions, how does that person sit and walk and talk? So here it is that he remains seated. How does he remain seated? He is seated. Asita matpara. He remains seated with God. There's a kind of constant awareness of oneself, not as a fragile, diminutive, weak person. That person now feels that supreme wisdom, which is the result of concentration, which is the result of control. So, whenever you see these things absent, you can discard what that person speaks. Because, ordinarily, that person may be speaking the highest truth, but he behaves like a pig. Well, you can discard whatever is. So, if Swami Vivekananda was kind of, he was asked, yes, a person may be intelligent, speak intelligently. That's okay in all these various branches of learning, sciences and all these things. But in spiritual life, that will not do. And today we have seen the life of Swami Turiyananda briefly. Oh my God, tremendous. Every verse, that's what every verse was a reading, he embodied these things. There was one time he had developed a carbuncle on his back, and then he never used to use, in those days, anesthesia was chloroform. He's saying, don't bother. So the surgeon used to cut 2 or 3 times. He had come and cut that carbuncle, and then so you don't feel any pain? No, the mind is like a kind of a small baby. It keeps on crying here. I want to go here. I want to do that. I keep it under control. That's all. So, yeah, for him, everything was under his perfect will. And that's the reason why he had that highest knowledge there. So this is the first step in gaining spiritual knowledge. You have to control the senses. Sensory knowledge is not knowledge of the spirit at all. It is material knowledge. You will be able to explain many things, and right down from the atoms and subatoms, and from there right up to the highest galaxies, you'll be able to explain. But that explanation will not have a spiritual dimension to it. Once you understand that I am a spirit, then you will start speaking on that level of experience or realization. So this is controlling them all and becoming concentrated. One should remain seated by accepting me as a supreme. That is what Sri Ramakrishna also says. As you proceed towards the west, the east falls off by itself. You don't have to do something separate. As you move towards God or the Supreme Self, the more you will leave all your old self behind. Yeah, we have a lot of selves, old selves. Myself as this and myself as that, and when I was this and when I was that at this age, kind of whittled down to my basic. The basic is this: I am a child of God, or I am a part of divinity. That is what one needs to hold on to. Then the control of the senses and the control of the mind becomes easy. Because when you are in the middle of a river and you're trying to control the river, sorry, you're going to be pulled by the current. So you first come out on the banks and then slowly start throwing some of the boulders, some of the dirt and trees, and gradually the flow of the river is slowly dammed, controlled. And that's how you do. Slowly keep on and on and on and on, and one day you'll find the river has stopped flowing. That is what is required. Sometimes it's a slow process, but as the yoga aphorisms say, success is quick for the extremely energetic. So if you're extremely energetic, if you want to see this goal in your lifetime, do it now, do it. Well, if you take it easy, yeah. You always might get another chance, over and over again. But one time in your life, you will have to decide, what do I want? So, yeah, then when you decide, it's like you're holding the horses in harness, reins, you're dragging them. So all this while you had just let them go. you're sitting in the horses, and then horses are taking you here and there in the brush and in this and that, getting all these nicks and cuts and scratches all over. You had kind of no control. Now you decide, now, no more. You stand still. I am the boss here. It's a reversal. And then the horse will say, hey, what happened? So long I was the boss. Things are changing now. So when you pull at the reins, it requires more effort, obviously. Letting it go, you don't need to have any effort. Only get a few scratches here and there, and a few tumbles, and this and that. And the horses, they are kind of, they don't like you, they'll throw you off, And then again you sit down, again it throws you off. Again you sit down, again it throws you off. And slowly speak to it again. You belong to me, I belong to you, something like that. You form a kind of partnership. And then the horse will let you sit down and, okay, now you go here, the horse will go there. They're saying, oh, there's hay here, better hay here, not there. And he'll go there. So you are stuck with this stupid horse. And in the Upanishad, especially in the Katha Upanishad, which we are taking here on Wednesday morning, so later on it will come. The body is in the old days it was a chariot, likened to a chariot. The body is a chariot. Okay, fine. This you can understand. Body is a chariot. The senses are the horses. This is also kind of clear. The mind are the reins that kind of joins the horses to the chariot. And who's the charioteer? The intellect. Now we have understood. And who's the traveler in the chariot? It's an individual soul. Through this analogy, we can kind of understand what we've got to do. So if the charioteer, the intellect, is good, the horses are well broken, and the reins are firmly held, that person reaches the state of supreme bliss, Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam. So otherwise, it will come to grief. So once you understand, you can break up what you need to focus upon. The intellect, the buddhi, is the charioteer, the rider, the one who holds the reins. The mind are the reins, the senses are the horses, and the body is the chariot with the wheels and us, taking us down. Either on the path of the worldly ways or on the path of spirituality. So, how do you make this intellect of ours strong? By making it understand that the rider with me, that is the one who is sitting there on the chariot, is the individual soul. And it is there. It keeps on observing things. It's not really affected by everything. But suddenly the intellect will say, hey, there's some VIP here with me. And okay, I've got to be careful. And there it all starts. And slowly, slowly, the intellect will slowly drag the horses back the way it wants it to go, not where the horses want to go, here. And as you keep on dragging it, you will attain that goal. So this is how, by controlling them all and becoming concentrated, you don't need to be distracted by hundreds of things. So when you can do that, your wisdom, your prajna, is established, pratisthita, it is established. We take the next two verses. It's a kind of the whole thing is kind of interesting. it just warns you where you start and where you end if you are not careful. So, the two verses are generally taken together. Okay? So we'll take this together. Dhyayato vishayan pangsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodho bijayate krodhat bhavati sammoha sammohat smritir vibhramaha smritir bhramshat buddhi nasho buddhi nashat pranashyati. Here it is. When a person, pungsaha, who dwells on the sense objects, dhyayataha, when the person keeps on thinking repeatedly of a particular thing, okay, what happens is there arises an attachment for those things. Sangaste. So if you keep on thinking of a particular thing over and over again, you get attached to it. So there you are. And from attachment grows an hankering. It's a Krishna. There. I want that. It's constantly in your mind. Over and over again, you're kind of, a loop has been kind of created. It comes one time, 2 times, 3 times, 10 times, 20 times. You can't push it away. And you have now become attached. There's a hankering grown for that. From hankering arises anger. When you obstructed. No, you can't have this. I've been thinking of having this. No, you cannot have it. Then the person becomes angry. And from anger follows delusion or the loss of discernment. What is right, what is wrong, what is true, what is false, what is good, what is bad. The whole thing becomes kind of a mess. That person later on will say, he takes the good for the bad and the bad for the good. Sarvartam viparitansh. Everything. Their intellect has become kind of clouded, deluded. They take the unreal for the real and the real for the unreal. This world, on the ultimate analysis, is unreal. But we see it's real. Everything is real. Yeah? That mind has become like that. And from the loss of discrimination or loss of discernment, failure of your memory. That is smriti bhramshat. Smriti bhramshat. What's memory? The memory of all those old great things that you had, all the noble things that you were, and everything, the teachings of your guru and the scriptures and everything that is good and noble in human life, you have lost it. Your memory has failed you. That is, we're not talking about Alzheimer's and all that thing. That's a kind of a state. All the good qualities that you possess are all kind of swamped by that. And from the loss of memories, good memories, the loss of understanding. You can become confused. And from the loss of understanding, that person perishes. Once you've come away from that idea of a supreme goal, a supreme self or supreme knowledge, you have taken other ideals, that person. Is finished. So he's saying, the commentator says, anyone who becomes unfit for the human goal. What's the human goal? Liberation. To see God is the goal of human life. If you have become unfit for this, you are considered dead. Even Swami Vivekananda says, they alone live who live for others. The rest are more dead than alive. Well, their bodies are functioning in a way, kind of. But they're kind of dead wood. There's nothing in them. Nothing that person can do or say. That person is only living for oneself. That person is kind of dead. That is, you perform a spiritual harakiri. That's a spiritual suicide. Now it's over for you. The moment you step out of line, you get a hit. And how do you step out of the line? It's very slow. It starts with a small bubble down in the bed of the lake, and it grows and grows and grows and grows, and that big bubble comes and bursts on the surface. There it is. Oh, gone. So, I'll read this again. When a person who dwells on sense objects, and naturally we kind of reminisce about old things and old places and things we've eaten and drank and done this and that, and or when I see something or somebody, society is kind of full of all these things. I have an old battered car. When I see a new car, oh, I would like that. And then I picture myself in that car. And then I keep on thinking of it. And then there you've got yourself caught. So constantly thinking of a thing, there grows a kind of a hankering. So hankering in the sense of Trishna. It starts on a very subtle level, but that hankering constantly is there in your subconscious mind. It pops up every time. You've been thinking about it, there's an attachment grown towards that thing, and then now there's hankering for it. And then when somebody says, no, you cannot have it, the person becomes angry. And the person becomes angry, as I say, he loses the discernment. And when the person loses discernment, loses his memories. That is, memories do not help that person. And when the person loses his memories, his understanding is, all his understanding is futile. And from that loss, that person is spiritually dead. So what do? Well, stop thinking about sense objects. Then what do I do? Well, the mind and the senses are kind of, they connect. The mind is designed perfectly to interact with sense objects. That is why we live in the world. If the world was without any objects, then what happens is the mind would not go out. But so that's why they say one part of your mind is outside, one part of your senses is outside. How come? They are existing as objects. Oh, really? Yes. So it's kind of a lock and key. You can't get out of it. Simply, your mind is oriented towards that. That is called what in the Yoga Sutras and what is also called by Swami Satyamayananda, pravritti, the circling forward of the mind. The mind wants to seek things outside and thinks that this sensory knowledge is the highest knowledge that it can have. And it can live and live and live and be happy with these sense objects. But we know there is a kind of gradual degradation. Because once suppose you want a chocolate, you get a chocolate, and then you remember the taste of the chocolate. Then you want to go again for that chocolate. You come away from it, and the chocolate grows larger and larger. It overshadows you. It takes control of everything. That one chocolate has destroyed you. Simple as that. Yeah. So it starts small, and then that's where you need to this is where I need to put my foot down. No, I'm not going to think of sense objects. I'm going to think of my self, supreme self, or God dwelling within me. And then this whole process becomes reversed. God becomes your object of thinking, of meditation, and then slowly, you are drawn towards that spring. That is the process. That's why in the Upanishads say, the self-existent one destroy the senses by making them go outwards. Paranchikhani Vratinat Swayambhu. A certain wise person, desiring immortality, turns the senses within and beholds that Supreme Self. Kaschid dhira pratyagatmanam aikshat. Avritta chaksu. That is with the senses, as a figuratively spoken, inwards. So the mind goes in. But what exactly is there inside? Flesh and bones and marrow and muscle? No, you don't know. Deep, deep within the mind floats the entire universe. We should not think, oh, there's something here. Oh, and you can see the shadow universe rise and fall. Then you even transcend that. And you come to the level of absolute consciousness. So here, within me, yes, within you, this whole knowledge, the secret of the universe lies within you, not outside. It has never been, it will never be. But we get so much knowledge, yeah, it is taking you round and round, circling. So, is this true? It has been experienced by thousands and thousands and thousands of sages. It is experienced. And they tell us, yeah, well, it is there. This whole universe, the subtle, the causal universes are there within you. What happens is when the concept of, we have our own ideas of, self-images. We have our own self-images. What, I am like this, I am like that. The moment you replace that self-image, old self-image, with this new, grander one, then you become vast, you become powerful, you become divine. Oh, this mind, I can pull it out now. And you can pull it out right now. It becomes very easy. The whole problem is we think we are so small and tiny and fragile and weak and sometimes stupid, sometimes intelligent, sometimes this. And we have built a whole world, inner world, inside. I live in that small inner world like a ruler in that. That world is my world, small world. External world is is there, but that, my world is kind of grand world, but it's small, meant for me, because I'm a small person. The moment you break that small inner world of imaginations and fantasies, there, you are liberating yourself. And then you will understand, oh my God, I have such huge dimensions. Why was I thinking in a small way? This is what happens. So, when you cultivate a new self-image based on reality, the reality as the Atman, then this mind, I'll kick it round like a football. Yeah, I'll kick the whole world round like a football. That's nothing to me. Really? Do you have that? Yes. That infinite dimension is there within you, lurking within you. That was what was trying to beckon you, call you, instigate you to bring you down to itself. Come down, come inside. That is that constant, you can say, help that you have. But we have neglected, we have externalized everything. So, the moment you start thinking of self as the Atman, then all these things becomes extremely easy. So, person who dwells on objects, there rises an attachment for them. From attachment grows hankering, from hankering springs anger, from anger follows delusion, from delusion failure of memory, from failure of memory, loss of understanding. From loss of understanding, that person perishes. There. It's a kind of a, Shankaracharya in his Vivek Chudamani says, like a ball which is dropped on a flight of stairs. It falls down step by step by step, it goes down one by one. So it's there. And the ball by itself cannot rise up again. So inadvertence, they say, is the biggest kind of defect in an aspirant. You should not be inadvertent. You should be vigilant. Otherwise, the ball will fall down from your hand, prachuta keli kanduvat, fall down, and then one by one, gone. Don't let the ball slip out of your hands. That's the idea. Otherwise, you're going to have it. By God's grace, like you say, once you accept God as the ideal, the goal of your life, then you start imbibing all those qualities. It's like when you meditate on an object, your mind takes the form of that object. That's what is called a chitta vritti, the form. So when I look at this, my mind has taken the form of this cup. And that's why there's perception. It's a long, you reading that Methods of Knowledge. So something like this happens. So if my mind takes the form of this cup which I am perceiving, well, if I can switch the cup with the image of God, then my mind will take the form of that image. And then I start superimposing all the divine qualities. Like the Guru has told you, meditate on your chosen ideal as blissful, as infinite, as supreme, as this. All these qualities start coming down within us. The more you meditate on God, the more divine your mind becomes. And then, gradually, the mind, as I said, will be weaned away from these things. How does it? Later on you'll say, it's like first, like yattadagre visha. First it's like poison. Pariname mritopam. Then it becomes like nectar. Gradually. It's a struggle first. And slowly, as you put it, then that control becomes a kind of a nectar. Otherwise, Vishayendriya Sangyoga, when the objects and the mind is kind of attached, first it's very pleasurable. So nice. I like this, I get this. I like that, I get this. I don't want this, I don't want it. It's so nice. Life is so beautiful. There is nothing. This world is so beautiful. See how nice it is. Yeah, really. And then comes the shock, the reaction. You hit. Every time you get a hit, then the world is nice and comfortable and beautiful, all disappear. All. So first it's like nectar, and then whatever you're doing becomes poison. And we have been kind of drinking that poison over and over again, telling ourselves, it will one day turn into nectar, don't worry. Keep on drinking that poison. Keep on drinking that venom. So Swami Vivekananda said, you start calling things by wrong names. You start compromising, and there you are. So this also came in the life of Buddha, he's saying. Swami Vivekananda says, like a hero he stood up, he's saying, no, I don't want anything of this. And he, as we know, he conquered everything. So this is how the kind of steps that lead to a kind of downfall, the steps to perdition, starts with a kind of a small thought, and then it takes you takes over you and guides everything, and you tell it enough now, it's not going to listen to you. Yeah. There was one king, Sri Ramakrishna says, who had great, you can say, sudden upsurge of a feeling of renunciation. So he said, no, I'm going to be fully be a renunciate like. So what happened, he had a old habit of feeding his cat before he could eat. The cat used to come and sit on his lap, and so when he sat down to eat, the queens and all, they're there. So the cat comes on his old habit, sit on his lap. He pushes the cat away. The cat once again comes and sits on his lap. He pushes the cat away. 2, 3 times, 4 times. Then the queen says, you've spoiled its habits. Now suddenly you think that you want to become you want to be full of renunciation. Will that work? It's a lesson for all of us. You've habituated your mind with all these things. Now suddenly you're feeling, no, I should devote my mind to God and everything. But then you've got to be persistent and over and over and over again. Then one time these spiritual impressions will overpower these other old habits. Because everything is habit in this world. It has been done through practice and habit. Habit forms first nature, second nature also. Everything, the whole of nature. Everything we do, we have done through habit. We've acquired everything through habit. Well, you can take the opposite and form another set of habits. And over and over and over, and practice and practice and practice. Lay down those spiritual impressions over and over, and there you've got it. So it's a question of time, dedication, patience. Don't be in a rush to get things. Patiently lay down every day, every minute, every hour, you're laying down a new set of habits. And once you've got it, all these things will be. We stop here for today. I think it's on 23rd. We take the next class on the Gita. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.